We want to welcome you to the Morning Soapbox. It's 9 minutes after the hour. It is Wednesday, July 10th, 2019, and 56 degrees outside. We're looking for a high of 83 today, which will be pretty nice. So, yeah, what are you looking for at a high in Cantaloupe, Shane?
78 to 80.
Okay, well, good. So that's all right. Should be a good time.
And dry. Gosh, it's dry.
Yeah.
Woo.
Our poll question of the day, is the hot dog a sandwich or not a sandwich? Shane, what do you think?
It's a hot dog.
It's a hot dog. It's not a sandwich, is it?
It's a hot dog on a bun.
Okay. Well,
like a hamburger. Hamburger isn't a sandwich. It's a hamburger on a bun.
Okay. Well, we're 50-50 so far in our poll. It's early yet. Yes, definitely a kind of sandwich, a hot dog is. No way. Wow. A hot dog is a hot dog. 50% voted that way and 50% voted the other way. And we've also got, what about frankfurters and wieners and not the New York guy?
That's right. Yeah. Wow. What, 72 hot dogs you slammed this year?
Well, something like that. The Nathan hot dog, Coney Island hot dog eating thing every 4th of July.
Yes, indeed.
So they got that thing going over there. So, yeah, pretty good deal. Mm-hmm. Well, let's see. Let's take a look at our day in history because a lot of things happened today.
Yes, it's a busy day.
It was a busy day. In 1832, Andrew Jackson, president of the United States, probably the closest thing to Trump that we've had as a president, Andrew Jackson. Mm-hmm. He vetoed legislation to recharter the second bank of the USA.
That's correct. And, of course, this was the Hamiltonian bank that had been set up at in 1778, and he believed that it had become a corrupt institution, so he vetoed the renewal of its charter. It had had a 20-year charter. After a lengthy struggle, Jackson thoroughly dismantled the bank within a year of his term. So he was pretty upset about it, but a lot was going on. He was having a lot of problems with regards to slavery because he was opposed to it. He had the tariff of abominations on the South with regard to slavery. They didn't like that. He didn't want new states being allowed to have slavery. So a lot happened. And he was involved in the contingent election. So it was very interesting because in 1824, when he ran for office, he did not receive a majority of votes nor a majority of the Electoral College. So the House of Representatives had to elect the president, and they picked John Quincy Adams. And so that upset him a bit. So he won the next election and carried on as the great Jackson that he was after the Battle of New Orleans.
There you go. I'm not supposed to say that either.
No, that's okay. It's a very well good.
1850, Vice President Millard Fillmore became president following the death of Zachary Taylor. Millard Fillmore, first president to put a bathtub in the White House.
That's right. And he was really worried at the time because politically, with the whole issue with Zachary Taylor and the conflicting election that he had as president, and the horrific echo of Tippecanoe and Tyler too, because of his Indian War failures. But interestingly enough, he came out of the U.S. House of Representatives, ended up as the vice president, and because of bad health, he ended up president and never really was heard of again.
Yeah. And the cleanest president up till that time.
Yeah, nice hygiene.
Right, good hygiene there in the White House, finally. 1890, Wyoming became the 44th state.
Yeah, it's not a major state. It's the total area is ranked in 10th in size in the states. It's only got 577,000 people. It's got the lowest population of any state in the union.
Yep.
And ranked 50th or 49th. But $60,000, annual median income, which is rather high for most states in the United States.
Yeah, well, it's a big agricultural state too, and they've got oil and other resources there that would pump up the thing a little bit. They're sort of Montana South, I would guess, or Montana Light.
Yeah, of course. Then they're the south of you, and
Mm-hmm.
they're west of Nebraska and South Dakota and north of Colorado and Utah, and they're
Mm-hmm.
just sort of sitting up there in the Midwest, like
Mm-hmm.
quiet.
Yeah, and they're sort of a rectangular, like Colorado is, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those even-sided states.
Yeah. 1943, U.S. and British forces invaded Sicily during World War II.
Huge event. It was called Husky, the invasion. Started on the 9th to 10th of July 1943, a year before D-Day.
Yeah.
So they had to slug their way across it, and Patton took over the charge and freed Sicily, basically. And this is where his, the real turn on his dislike of Montgomery, the Field Marshal of England. And then they went on to the Italy proper, and they were in Rome on D-Day.
Yeah.
So, huge.
1951, armistice talks aimed at ending the Korean War begin at Kaesong.
Well, we know how that went. It's always, it's interesting historically when you look at the way the United States negotiates armistice with people. I only bring that up because we've talked about so many other things with regards to the Korean War in North and South Korea. But it's sort of like with the Kuwait issue. The U.S. Basically signed an armistice with Saddam Hussein and allowed him to keep his helicopters and things, which turned out to be really not a good idea.
Yeah, not very good.
And in this case, there was this allotment that the war would continue, and they would create this demilitarized zone, and no one would pass it. So it was an internationally led front with 12 or 15 participants, including Canada. So, the big concern a lot of people have about this issue that Trump is dealing with, if war ever broke out there, we would all be committed to send troops again.
Yes, we would.
So there you go.
Yeah. Wasn't there a Battle of Kaesong?
Yes, there was.
That sounds familiar to me. I don't know.
Both in Korea and South Vietnam. Kaesong, Vietnam too.
Yeah.
So
all right.
Pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yep.
From our text line, 478-8298, I wish about half the population of Bozeman would move to Wyoming. They have lots of room. That's a signed text from one of our dedicated listeners. And thank you very much for that.
Yeah, and since you can't dig up and take the real estate, it would be cheaper.
Right, there you go. 1962, the Telstar communications satellite was launched from Cape Canaveral, Florida.
It was, and the fascinating thing is the manufacturer was led by Hughes and Eads Astrom and Space Systems Loral, all of which are no longer exist. AT&T operated for 21 years, and it provided the first transatlantic phone calls and first transatlantic, by satellite. And Bell Telephone Laboratories was involved and utilized it for phone calls and television.
Ooh.
BBC television came to America because of Telstar. Hooray, hooray. We wouldn't have their comedy.
Yeah. Benny Hill would just be a unknown.
I know, it was one of the best shows on television as a kid. I loved it.
You gotta love Benny Hill.
Yeah.
1964, the album A Hard Day's Night by the Beatles was released.
Well, you know the story better than I do. Oh, my goodness.
Decca Records turned him down because guitar bands and boy bands were losing their popularity, and boom. And that guy is working in the fast food industry right now.
He certainly is. Yeah, that's right. So that they started their own label.
Yeah. Yeah, the Apple label. Yeah.
The Apple label, which somehow, and there's no really explanation of this, but it's interesting. They lost control of Apple to the Japanese, I think, Sony, to Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah, he bought up all their entire album or entire deal.
Yeah, he didn't buy Apple per se, but he bought the rights of all their music from Sony.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that was kind of I don't know. It was an unusual situation. I guess Brian Epstein, their manager at the time, I guess wasn't real versed in contract and intellectual property rights and things like that. I think he was more interested in, we'll sign anything. Just get us on the air somewhere, get us in these tours and these concerts and everything, and we'll be fine.
Yeah,
But,
show me the money.
Yeah, well, same thing happened to the Beach Boys. The old man sold all their stuff, Brian Wilson's stuff, and that was sad.
That was very sad. It took him most of his life to get it back, and a brush with insanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. 1973, the Bahamas became independent after 3 centuries of British colonial rule.
Wow, what a winner. 92% African, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
There's no natural indigenous people left on the island because they all died because of the Spanish back in the 15th century. But there are some mixed race people. There's about 2.1 mixed people of ancestry of the island. It's a unitarian parliamentary government, and their monarch, of course, is Queen Elizabeth. Unlike us, we are not the same. Yeah. Area is quite fascinating. I mean, you talk 5,000 square miles. Wow.
Big place.
Yeah, across a lot of islands. 392,000 people. The GDP is 12 billion, of which over 10 billion is derived from tourism.
All right.
$33,900 per capita per income, making it one of the wealthiest Caribbean and South American and Central American countries for people to live.
All right, we got to take care of our cab drivers, truck drivers, and farmers, ranchers, you name it, whoever they are. We're going to take care of them. Here's your Montana news and agriculture. We'll be right back. 27 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. It's Wednesday, July 10th, 2019, 56 degrees outside. Welcome to the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. We're counting down the dates of this day in history. 1985, we all remember this. Coca-Cola, bowing to pressure from irate customers after the introduction of new Coke, said it would resume selling the old formula.
Amazing. I mean, for a global icon that had global recognition, the only two companies with bigger recognition were Kentucky Fried Chicken and the Marlboro Man. But anyway, it's the only product of the United States that has been sold in every country in the world. Having said that, they went from corn sugar to aspartame, and they felt because they were going from a natural sugar to a chemical sugar, they had to sort of tell people. But anyway, long story short, they introduced it on April 23rd, 1985, and it was gone by July 10th, 1985.
It's gone pretty quickly,
not even 60 days, it was out of there.
Yeah. Well, they were losing market share in supermarkets because Pepsi was a little sweeter. So they did change as you pointed out, they changed the sweetness of it, and that kind of took it all away. So,
well, that's right. And the big battle wars, were really fought in the 60s and 70s with the advent of fast foods, because whoever could get into a fast food company and get the entire company to serve their drink was
pretty good. Yeah, that was a big deal.
Yeah. And the only one that Pepsi succeeded with was Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Coke basically grabbed everyone, Burger King and McDonald's and on and on. So,
right.
Yeah.
All right, we got to duck out here, pay a couple bills. We'll be back with local news and 5 things you need to know. Mike McCormick will be in this morning, so we've got a lot to do. So hopefully you'll stay with us. And we'll be right back after the Montana State News, Fox News, Brooke Foster weather, and some words from our great sponsors right after this. 24 minutes for the top of the hour. It is Wednesday, July 10th, 2018, 56 degrees outside. Shane Matobin in Cantaloupe joining me this morning. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And In local news, Shane, we're going to redo a part of the MSU football stadium.
Yeah, I saw that. Didn't they just have a big upgrade though a few years ago?
They did, yeah. They put a big scoreboard in, a big television thing and everything. So yeah, it's kind of
super boxes and everything.
Yeah, they got the sky boxes and all that stuff. Well, the university is going to ask the Montana Board of Regents to approve spending $1.5 million for architects to design the $18 million Bobcat Athletic Complex. Right now, they're in Brick Breeden Fieldhouse with all the weights and dressing and all that, and then they got a hike from the fieldhouse over to the field, so we can't have that. So we're going to put a little bit of everything in there. They're going to build a 2-story, 40,000 square foot addition wrapped around the north end zone of the football stadium as a new home of Bobcat football. And that's the area closest to Kagi Boulevard, would be upgraded with bowl-style seating, and football players would have their own weight rooms, training and rehabilitation areas, locker rooms, and team lounge, while football staff would have new offices, plus an auditorium and lobby area. There'd be spaces for health services, for student athletes, faculty, and staff only. So moving football, MSU's biggest team, out of Brick Breeden Fieldhouse would free up space in the fieldhouse for athletes and other sports for weight training and and more than 3,000 square feet of new studying and tutoring space. So all things considered, football is very popular here, obviously. MSU's had a good team here the last few years, and we... a lot of people support the team quite enthusiastically here, and we carry the games, of course, on our sister station, XL Country, and anything that improves our area here, I think I don't have a problem with it. None of the bucks are coming from taxpayers, so I don't have a problem with putting it up. They're all coming from the. They're going to borrow some of it, but they're going to pay that back with ticket revenue and other fees and stuff like that. So
it's quietly referred to as money maintenance.
That's it, money maintenance. Good money maintenance. So
yes.
Well, the November ballot will ask voters whether they want to make county elections nonpartisan, and the Gallatin County Commission unanimously approved the ballot question on Tuesday, despite hearing the Gallatin County Democrats chair and a Montana State University political science professor speak out against it. So if a simple... Go ahead.
My question is, so if the ballot won't designate what party you're with, is that what they're saying?
Yeah, all parties, everybody will be lumped together. Well, it's like they do it in California.
Mm-hmm.
They lump Democrats and Republicans together with no, which is why they're overwhelmingly Democrat because they're not on separate ballots.
That's right. And people sometimes don't know the name of the Republican running, but want to vote Republican. So, that's the other aspect of it.
Yeah, there wouldn't be anything like a straight ballot, just
exactly
mark the R, the D, or whatever. Well, if a simple majority of voters approve nonpartisan elections, there'll be a single primary for the 10 county offices. The 3 county commissioners would be there. The county attorney, the clerk of the district court, the sheriff, the treasurer, the auditor, the superintendent of schools, and the clerk and recorder. 6 Republicans and 4 Democrats now hold those offices. Wow. So it would be the current people that want to run for that particular office. So you might have, 2 people running for sheriff, 2 people running for treasurer, or more. You could have 6 people running for sheriff, for that matter.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this, as an observer, everybody talks about term limits all the time. Term limit.
Yep.
And what a great example the Democrats have come up with to, alleviate term limits.
Yeah. Well, the Democrats spoke out against this.
Of course they did. Yeah, right.
And I'm not sure why we've become about as blue as you can get in Gallatin County.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I don't think the Republicans sponsored this.
I don't think so. So anyway, well, research indicates people are less likely to vote and more likely to choose incumbents or candidates based on their race or gender when we have nonpartisan elections. So,
wow. That sounds like a Jim Crow law.
I was going to say, yeah, it's pretty. I don't know. Sounds pretty strange to me.
It does.
I don't know. Anyway, we got to take another quick break. We're back in 2 minutes. 15 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Wednesday, July 10th, 2019, 56 degrees outside. Shane and Tobin on the line with me from not Vancouver. He's in Cantaloupe today. So we've got a caller waiting patiently on the line. So, caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
I wanted to know, have you heard the blog somewhere on the news that California is trying to block Trump from being on the ballot again? And that's a good question I told Shane for Jennifer when she comes on.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's possible.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't think
that's a huge form of
I don't think it's legally possible. There are some hoops you got to jump through to get on, each state's ballot. But,
right.
I don't think any state has the power to keep someone off who is a legitimate candidate.
Good.
Yeah.
But,
you could make the argument, I guess, Trump's not a legitimate candidate if you're on the Democratic side, I guess. So
it would, maybe California could just slide off into the ocean and we wouldn't have to worry about it.
Well, we're hoping those earthquakes maybe will take care of that for us. I don't know. No, we don't wish anybody ill in California.
I don't care about the people. Just get rid of the state.
Yeah, well, there you are. Yeah, the people can go. They can go to Arizona or somewhere, or Nevada, where it's. Yeah, that'll work.
Get in their big fancy planes and their fast cars and get out of there. But
I like it. Hey, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening. All right. Okay, let's see. From our text line, if anyone thinks this doesn't have a Democrat written all over it, they are being foolish. That's a signed statement there. And we thank you for listening and for chiming in. We had a text too late for the show yesterday, but it was Jeff 2 days a week. We need Jeff 2 days a week, this texture thinks so.
Well, there's so much going on. I can appreciate someone saying that. It's incredible.
It is. Let's take another call. 522-TALK is the number. Call you on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning.
Hey, I think not only should we know their political affiliation when we're voting for county executives and leaders, but we should also require a background check. The public is, I think, deserving of a background check of each and every one of these candidates anymore, because their votes or the way that they persuade is very effective upon the people of Gallatin County.
Well, I think that's probably true. I don't think that would. I'm not sure what a cost would be. You wouldn't be talking about very many people, that's for sure. I think it would be. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I had to go through a background check to teach at both MSU and Gallatin College when I was teaching there, and so I didn't object to that. Fortunately, they didn't find the real stuff on me, but that was okay.
Especially what you did in high school.
Yeah. They didn't go back to high school. They didn't check my yearbook.
Yeah, they didn't check your yearbook.
I know that this last election, it was pretty difficult to find anything out about the school board members running for the school board out here in Belgrade. And that was frustrating, because you don't know anything about these people, especially when you don't have any kids in school anymore.
Well, that's true. They're going to run the show out there, so the more we know, and particularly when you're dealing with kids, I don't know how much direct contact they have with the kids, but you're still in a student adult relationship situation, and that can be bad if the wrong person is in that position.
Exactly. But the point is you don't know anything about these candidates that are running for these, elected positions. And it would sure be nice if rather than the day before the election, I saw an article that had some bios on some of the candidates that were running for the school board a day before. Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're wondering why they're not working, or why they're out of a job, or
and a bio. A bio, you can write anything nice about somebody.
Sure.
Let's find out what their voting record is. And which way they swing the bat.
I have a super bio.
There you go.
Wrote it myself.
Have a good day.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Yeah. Well, that's certainly something to consider when we have these elections. Everybody wants to meddle with them. I mean, I don't know. I think most people want to know the party you're affiliated with, at least that.
That's right.
Because that kind of gives you some indication of their thought process, and then you can hear their speeches, or go listen to them, or talk to them, or whatever. Everybody here in Gallatin County, I think, that runs for office is pretty accessible.
Well, I think that a qualification for running for office is you have to have a biography. Okay, someone has to have been decided. Somebody's had to decide they're going to spend part of their life writing a book about you. So if someone thinks you're that important, maybe you should be in politics.
Yeah. Okay. We got to take another break. We'll be right back. 5 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Wednesday, July 10th, 2019, 56 degrees outside. Shane Matobin on the line with me, half man, half amazing, in Cantaloupe, Canada. And Tom Eagle off your morning mayor. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox. And well, Shane, Bozeman's airport, they're getting big bucks. They're getting $3 million grant for upgrades there. We've got a very successful airport that doesn't rely, I don't believe it relies at all on any taxpayer money.
No, yeah, you've talked about this incredibly. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting enterprise, and it's so important to the area because of obviously the number of people that you rely on for tourism, and of course all those people living up on the side of the mountain. Yeah, well, Yellowstone Park certainly close proximity. Bozeman, great place to come and stay while you're visiting the park. Some of us haven't been to the park, but that's okay. Anyway, well, the Federal Aviation Administration grant will pay for ramp expansion, snow removal equipment, and 3 new passenger boarding bridges, part of the airport improvement program. The FAA gave $23.5 million to 15 airports in Montana. And the Bozeman Airport gets about $3 million in grants for improvements every year, Director Brian Springer said. So the money was expected, and every plane ticket is taxed, with a portion going into a aviation trust fund. That trust fund pays for FAA operations, and a portion goes back to airports and property improvements. And grant-funded projects will help accommodate the airport's growth. More and bigger airplanes are landing at the airport, which require more infrastructure. Statistics from June show 21% increase in the number of people arriving and departing the airport from the same month last year. So, it's pretty amazing because you go to the eastern part of Montana, like Great Falls in Montana and Harlow, and you sort of see what the airports of the 50s and 60s, 70s look like, right? Yeah. and then you go to the western part of Montana, Bozeman and Missoula and the Flathead Valley, and it's like, wow, these are nice. Yeah, they are. They are. And I said those 3 words again that I'm not supposed to say. I know. From our text line, 478-8298, I can say that. We feel that there should be a lot more information on these people running for different offices. These positions are much more important than people give them credit. They affect our lives at the ground level. The information should be available by the time we receive the absentee ballots. And I couldn't agree more. I think it's very important that we vetting the candidates is our responsibility, I believe, but certainly
having the designation of which party they're, or if they're independent even.
Yes.
We need to know that, I think, and that's part of the vetting process, that if someone is a Republican or a Democrat, you sort of know a little bit. Just because they've affiliated themselves with that particular party, you have a knowledge of sort of the direction their thinking reflects.
Yeah, their policy positions and what law, which gives you an idea of the laws that they're prepared to support and participate in and even put forward.
Well, I was going to say, you don't have to go much further than the Bozeman City Commission to see the party affiliation and where that goes, So,
yeah, that's true. That's
That's
why I get such a great kick out of the everyday talk about what's going on in Bozeman, because it's every day.
Well, if there's ever a need for partisan on the ballot, the City Commission is a glaring example of that.
Well, it is, and the contradiction, because it's local.
Mm-hmm.
It's a truly citizenship representation, because people go home and do their jobs and whatever, and then once a week they meet for this meeting in the city or this meeting in the county, and
right,
that's what your founding fathers wanted. They didn't want people just sitting around and collecting a salary and doing the job and so forth, but. So in the context of that, it's quite fascinating because they're there all the time. It's not like you can't run into them and talk to them.
Sure. Well, that's what I say. Everybody running for office that I've been aware of has always been accessible. You can email them, you can call them, you can go see them and hear their points of view on whatever. They'll have coffee with you or whatever if you want to take the time to do that. And I think many people should. So. All right, that wraps it up for this hour. Mike McCormick will be in at 8 o'clock. Coming up the next hour, we still got a couple of local things we want to talk about, and then the 5 things you need to know and all of that. So stay tuned, and we'll return right after these important words. Thank you, Dan. Welcome to the second hour of the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. It's Wednesday, July 10th, 2019, 57 degrees outside. And, let's take a call, Shane, and see what the callers are thinking about this morning here. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Calling on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
How you guys doing? This is Aaron.
Hey, Aaron.
Hey, I'm about sick and tired of these damn judges. That question was on the census up until Barack Obama got, felt like it didn't need to be on there. And now they're coming up with every excuse they can to stop Trump from putting it back on. Who the hell do these people think they are?
I know. I agree with you fully. I'm gonna write it in myself. I'm gonna write it in.
Well, the issue is Congress was given the authority. Congress, the state, and the people were given the authority to pass laws, to make laws, right?
Yeah, it's in the Constitution.
Yeah, but I don't think those judges have ever read it.
Well, no, probably not.
I mean, none of those judges. Hell, even that young, lovely lady that you have on sometimes is oblivious to what the Constitution says. Jennifer. Sometimes, it's like the people that practice law, they look at it as their own little toy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They look at it as like it's their little hot rod, and they can make it as fast as they want and do whatever they want with it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy, and I think people need to stand up and demand these judges be kicked out of office. This is ridiculous, man.
Well, the problem is, whatever you want done, Aaron, there's a judge who's going to accommodate you, whether it's constitutional or not. That's the problem, that they don't just pick a judge out of a hat. They've got their list of, okay, these guys are going to, these guys or girls are going to, side with you, and these aren't. So we're going here.
How did they get those types of people in there?
Well, they're appointed. They're appointed, and they're approved by the Senate. That's the problem. If it's a Democratic Senate, then they're going to approve people that think the Democratic way, and if they're Republicans, they're going to think the Republican way, and that's. I mean, the Supreme Court is very evident of that.
That's not even really the case. So, I mean, Trump was, Kavanaugh was supposed to be an originalist. And the hell he is.
Yeah, well, you never know until they get on the bench what they're going to do, and that's the issue. You think they're going to act one way, and they don't do it.
But there's a freaking Constitution. There's a law.
I know.
They have a law,
and they interpret it as a living document instead of written in stone that most of us think it should be.
Well, and it's not a living document.
It isn't.
It's funny how.
Yeah, it isn't.
No.
Yeah.
It's funny how everybody says that the Supreme Court's job is to interpret the Constitution, and it was never meant to be that way. That was Marbury versus Madison, where they usurped that authority, and Jefferson was pissed off about it.
Mm-hmm.
And all those people that think that the Supreme Court's job was to interpret the Constitution, if that was the case, then the Supreme Court wouldn't have been instituted until after the founders were dead.
Yeah.
Because the founders were alive at that time to tell them what they meant.
That's true.
And they don't use it to interpret the Constitution. They don't use any of the founding fathers. They view it as, well, this is just what I want, and I have this position, so I get to do what I want, and that's just BS, man. And I just want to cuss and swear and kick and scratch and fight. It just makes me mad. It just really does.
Well, we need to clone the founding fathers and bring them back to straighten this whole mess out.
Well, and there's a lot of us that are cloned as the founding. I mean, there's a lot of us that think that way. We don't need to clone them so much.
Well, that's true. We just need to get the right people making the right decisions is all.
Well, get off their lazy asses, I mean, I like to call on about as much as I put forth as I call on here and complain about it.
Yeah.
I need to do more. We all do, but it's crazy. I mean, it's just ridiculous what they're doing to this president. And I think he does deserve a third term. And I'll tell you what, he needs to put that question on there regardless of what them stupid judges say. Because I tell you what, there's not a damn thing they can do to him. The Supreme Court has no, they can't do anything about it. There's nothing they can do. They don't have any enforcement capacity. They issue an opinion, and that's it. It's Trump's job to enforce the laws of the country. Their job is to issue opinions. That's all they can do. So, I mean, he should put it on there and tell them to get banned. Yeah. Seriously. They can't arrest him.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I'm going to write it in. If it isn't on there, I'm going to write it in myself.
I am too.
Yeah. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put it in there because I don't want the census people to have any doubt on my citizenship status. If it ain't there, I'm going to write it in. So.
And I think everybody should. And the only ones that they should count are the ones that do write it in.
Well, I'd agree with that.
Because I tell you what, I'm pretty sick and tired of Mexicans having a lot more authority in this country than me.
Yeah.
And they people want to say that I'm racist, but I ain't racist. That's just the common sense, man. This is our country. So, I don't know, man. Shane?
Yes?
If you were an illegal alien here, Shane, I would give you a pass. But
well, how right? Well, that's very good.
Well, he'll be legally in Bozeman on the 26th of this month, so.
I'll have
I know. And I'm the only caller that calls in, Tom, that you haven't personally invited to go to that, and I'm hurt.
Will you personally come, Aaron? I'm personally inviting you right now.
Well, Shane already did, so he's my favorite.
Okay. Well, all right. Everybody's coming to see Shane. Nobody's coming to see me.
Oh, please. Give me a break. Seriously.
Hey, he's the star of the show. Come on. I'm just a moderator here.
Well, yeah, you can tell, Aaron. You can tell because I have a star on the door in my green room. Before the show.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in there. I've got caviar in the green room for him,
Yeah. Virtual.
There you go. Hey, thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it. All right. 12 minutes after the hour. Well, in other news, guess what, Shane? Somebody drove their Subaru Outback into the front door of the federal building. So,
wow.
They're not sure whether he was just inept at parking or whether it was deliberate or whether it was an accident. So they're investigating it. And but he crashed into the doors at the federal building. Doesn't look like the car got inside. It just hit the buildings and broke the glass and bent the door. But they're trying to figure out if it was some kind of a medical thing or if it was deliberate or whatever. So they're not sure yet. So the man's name hasn't been released, but anyway, that's why the doors at the federal building are all bent up. So,
well, I find that fascinating because you think with everything that's happened in the last 20 years that there would be car guards out front of the door, right? Like those cement blocks or poles, steel poles.
Well, that may be the next thing they're going to install. I don't know, but
let's spend more money. That's right.
That's it. Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting that the door that he ran into is on the south side of, or not the south side, the west side of the building. And right inside that door is where you go to the federal offices. The other door, you go into the post office. The door to the east, you go into the post office. This one, you go into the federal building where the elevators and everything are. And there's an armed guy there to stop you and frisk you and make sure you're not taking anything up to the federal building. And even to use the bathroom, you got to empty your pockets and show them ID and sign in and all that. Yeah, so.
A metal detector and everything?
Yeah, well, I don't know if they got a metal detector yet, but they just had the guy in there to kind of pat you down and make sure you're not, carrying anything, whatever. So
probably a good idea.
Well, it may be. I don't know. But, I used to go in there a lot when I had my P.O. box, but I don't have one anymore, so I don't have to go there. So,
well, that's pretty cool.
Very often, anyway. So
very often.
Well,
unless you have a federal question.
Yeah, if I got a federal question, I guess I have to go in there. But
ooh, scary thought.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, the phones are going to ring, I'm sure, because once again they want to put marijuana on the 2020 ballot. So we'll talk about that when we come back right after this. So stay tuned. 18 minutes after the hour of 7 a.m., Mike McCormick will join us at 8 o'clock. It's Wednesday, July 10th, 2019, 57 degrees outside. Shane Matalbin on the line with me, half man, half amazing in Cantaloupe, Canada, and Tommy Galoff, your morning mayor in the house. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox. And as I mentioned earlier, despite the Montana legislature turning down a bill from Missoula Democrat Tom Winters to legalize weed in March, Montana can hopes to put a close version of that bill to voters in 2020. And once again, marijuana comes down the pike for us, Shane.
It's always, you have to expect it with the new generation.
Well, apparently so. I don't know. The first ballot initiative, actually, there's going to be two, I believe, on the ballot. The first ballot initiative was submitted to the Montana Secretary of State on June 28th by Montana Can. The Montana Regulation Act, or ballot issue number 5, as it's currently titled with the Montana Secretary of State's office. That would legalize recreational marijuana use, establish the state's duties in facilitating the industry, and establish tax revenue policies. The measure is now being reviewed by state's Legislative Services Division. And there's another one also that they're talking about, I believe, if I can find it. Maybe not. I thought there was two of them, but anyway. So, I don't know. Anyway, Well, there's supposed to be dueling recreational marijuana initiatives, but I can't find the second one here, so I don't know what the other one is. But anyway, it's you can smoke pot. So anyway, I guess so.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the bottom line is you can smoke pot.
Yeah.
And then it becomes now where can you smoke pot, right? Like that.
Well, that's the question. I would assume the lung cancer wing at the hospital is out. But
yeah, exactly.
Montana Can believes it can gather the 25,000 signatures to get it on the ballot, and a $500,000 budget raise within the state. So they've got some money apparently to do this with. So they're looking at putting it on the ballot yet once again. And I don't know if we need another legal impairment. We've already got enough alcoholics running around. I don't know if I need alcoholic pot smokers either, but, We talked about the crash the other day. The bar owner that is being charged in over-serving the couple, and one of them was killed. The driver, the guy who was inebriated, but also tested positive for marijuana as well. So, as I say, there may be more and more of that coming up if this is approved. It's Colorado. They've been inundated by people coming across the border from other states to buy it and take it back to their states. And I think the last time I read, the tax collected is 1.8% of their budget. So
Wow.
It's hardly minuscule. It's a minuscule amount. And I think with our population, even if everybody bought marijuana in the state of Montana, I think the tax would be pretty low. But that's up to the voters. If you want people running around high on pot, go for it. If not, well,
running around.
Running around. Well, I don't want them driving around. If they're running around, I'm okay with that. But I'd prefer them not to be driving around.
Exactly. That would concern me.
I think I also read somewhere that every 50th car that approaches you is driven by somebody impaired on something.
Oh, I would believe that. It's
either alcohol or drugs or something. So
and the worst part is the people with road rage are worse than the people that have been drinking.
The advantage of marijuana is you'd be mellow. You wouldn't shoot, you'd throw the gun at them.
That's right.
You're a little more mellow,
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of the gun, you'd have your hand in a bag of chips.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to grab it in time.
Yeah, your holster would be full of Lay's.
Yeah.
Or Fritos.
Yeah. Yeah, then you'd be picking Lay's out of between your
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see. It's been tried before. It's whether or not they can get the signatures or not, and they've certainly got the money to, promote it and whatever. But we've seen Alaska okay it, and then they got rid of it, I believe, and Washington, Oregon,
Colorado.
and Colorado are three of the states. Certainly, I think there's more than just those three, but. I don't know that Montana needs more pot. But we'll see.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because really the whole thing about it is the argument about crime, right? Like, let's use this to, put a wedge between the sellers and the buyers and normalize it so we can reduce the amount of crime generated by the cartels selling it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we already have a meth epidemic that we talked with Sheriff Gookin about a couple weeks ago. We've already got that going for us here. That's a big deal, and I'm not sure that this. As I've said many times, the person that has a pot shop, they've got rent, they've got fixtures, they've got insurance, they've got employees, they've got jars, baggies. Whatever. They got a bunch of expenses that organized crime doesn't have.
That's right. They have infrastructure.
Yeah, and organized crime can give you a bag of pot with a couple pills. Hey, for the same price or cheaper than this guy running having to pay all the expenses can do.
Or a bag of pot sprinkled with fentanyl.
That too. Yeah. Sure. Why not?
Yeah. Sick.
Yeah. Let's take a phone call before we have to take a break at the bottom of the hour. Caller, you are on the Saturday. I haven't said Saturday in weeks. Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm just curious. It doesn't really seem to be affecting anything negatively that marijuana has been legalized in the states that it has been. So, and also, isn't it legal in Canada now as well?
Yeah. Yeah, you just made it legal in Canada, did you not, Shane? Back in July or something like that?
Last year, that's right.
And you couldn't keep up with demand, I think, was the issue, right?
No, typically the government had no structure set up or plan, nothing.
So
it took 6 months for the province of BC to issue licenses to vendors to sell it in the province. It was a mess.
Okay.
I'm curious with that, because really it's a prohibition, right? It's a prohibition on drugs. So what was it like when the prohibition was over for alcohol? Was it kind of the same where there wasn't government structure and it took a while for everything to
they were
together again?
Yeah.
The Brofmans of Canada and Joe Kennedy were ready.
Yeah. Yeah, they were. Yeah. Well, the difference between prohibition and alcohol is that there's light beer, but there's no light marijuana. The purpose of drinking is not to get drunk, but the purpose of smoking or doing any drug is to get high. And the higher you can get, the more attractive it is. So
yeah,
that's the issue. It's not you can't compare alcohol and drugs because they, the desired effect of the user is what
the same thing.
Yeah.
Alcohol and drugs are
yeah, they are. Sure.
Drug.
Yeah, you can overdo alcohol. You can overdo drugs. Absolutely.
You can overdo water.
Sure.
You can overdo Tylenol.
Absolutely.
You can drive for too long and fall asleep at the wheel.
Yep.
So, I mean, really, this comes down to the responsibility of the individual, not the government, trying to just hold everybody's hand. And I really think that's the bigger issue here is do we really want to keep enforcing things that people should be enforcing on themselves? And I guess that's really all I wanted to call to say.
No, that's fine. Yeah,
it's a good question. But I'll tell you we like to talk about dirty little secrets. So the dirty little secrets here is your legal system. And, you got to remember you have a huge infrastructure of judges and court clerks and administrators and people, police and lawyers, and they're all engaged in this, particularly, on the criminal side.
They're all making money off of it, is what you're trying to tell me.
Absolutely.
So you eradicated. You're putting a lot of important people out of work that drive Mercedes-Benz.
There you go.
Yeah, I think you're hitting some of the major issues right on the head there.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. Thanks for listening. All right. Appreciate it. All right. We'll be back with more at the bottom of the hour here. We got Montana State News, Fox News, Brooke Foster Weather, Charter Communications, Troy Meller, and Mark Stein, and Shane and I right after this, or Shane and me, if you want to be absolutely grammatically correct. We'll be right back. 24 minutes for the top of the hour. It is Wednesday, July 10th, 2019. 60 degrees outside. We're looking for a high in the mid-70s. And Shane Matavin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. And from our text line, 478-8298. Let's stop kidding ourselves. Alcohol is a drug. And I would agree with that. Tom, I think the purpose of drinking for a lot of people is to get drunk. So if you smoke to get high and you drink to get drunk, what is the difference? Well, there's really no difference, I guess. If you go out to get drunk, then that's your prerogative, I guess. My wife and I like to have a glass of wine with, dinner, but that's it. So. We're not out there to close the place down and struggle out to the car. Is the caller still there?
No, please cut him off.
Okay. Well,
thank you.
That would be sort of a...
That's what I did. It was beeping in my head. I can't hear you.
Okay, sorry. Beer is a light version of whiskey, and why did it take a constitutional amendment to institute prohibition of alcohol, but it doesn't take a constitutional amendment to the prohibition of marijuana? Well, it's a different America than it was then. If you remember, during Prohibition, almost every drug was legal. Cocaine was legal. People put it in medicines and all of that stuff. Morphine was legal. So was marijuana. The Chinese working on the railroad smoked it. Opium. They had the opium dens all over the place. And the problem was that people were being impaired by all these things, and some of them were addictive, like heroin and, some other substances were addictive. So that, and along with prohibition, because of the crime involved with it, they decided that hey, and the people voted for it at the time. You know, it was an amendment has to be ratified by the states, and they did.
Yeah, it was proposed in 1917. It took less than a year for the states to approve it. So
yeah, and everybody felt that alcohol was just a bad thing, particularly the women and the churches. And you know, they didn't want the man going out and spending all night at the bar. You needed to, you know, don't spend your income there. Come home, take care of the kids, and you know, all of that. And that's the reason that prohibition passed so easily. But then, when organized crime got into it, then we had the repeal of prohibition, and people voted for that too because the crime was worse than the old man going to the bar.
Yeah, exactly.
So, or at least that's what they felt. So as we moved along, but in the case of pot compared to alcohol, as I said, the only reason to smoke pot is to get high. That's the only reason. I mean, otherwise it's not, it's no different than a cigarette. So why bother?
And the cotton cartel was largely responsible in the 20s and 30s to have the federal government acknowledge specific drugs, including marijuana, as a legal substance. Well, and of course they did that because they didn't want cotton to have to compete with the marijuana plant and its incredible usefulness for making linen
part. Yeah. Well, that was part of it. The other thing was that they made a very successful campaign that if blacks smoked marijuana in the 20s and 30s and whatever, they would attack white women, and that was the big message put out. And a lot of people got behind that, obviously, even though it wasn't true. But, it's like the Reefer Madness movie of the 50s, wasn't true. But we capitalize on fear for these people to, to be afraid of this thing. Mm-hmm. That, you smoke it once, you'll be addicted. Well, probably not.
That's true.
All right.
It's totally true. Totally. Yeah.
We got to take another quick break. We'll be right back. 16 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Wednesday, July 10th, 2019, 61 degrees outside. Maybe we should ask Mike McCormick about pot stocks.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we got a lot of cannabis stocks in Canada making their presence known, and some other ones here and there. So, yeah, we should probably talk about that a little bit. So, let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Not anything in particular, Thomas.
Are you high?
Yes, I've been smoking my weed this morning, and I'm ready to rock and roll, baby.
All right.
To answer, not answer, but just to address what Aaron had to say about the courts and the judges.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have the last say. The sitting court doesn't have the last say as far as the Supremes go because it can be overturned, the precedent's changed by a later court. As far as the same question again, when a judge hands a case over to the jury is now the judge. Okay? Mm-hmm. And as a juror, you are allowed, no matter what the judge says, you can judge the facts, the law, the application of the law, and vote your conscience. So,
well, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to follow the instructions from the judge. But we all know that when we're sitting in there, we're human beings.
Well, exactly. And when, as I said, once the judge turns the case to the jury, the jurors are the judge.
Right.
Okay. Now,
O.J. Simpson.
Right. We had a case right here in Montana where they tried twice to seat a jury in a marijuana case, and they couldn't find a jury that would agree with the state, and it was dropped.
Yeah, well.
Okay?
There you go.
So we do.
I said it again. I can't believe that.
We have the power. We have the power, but we don't know it, or we refuse to exercise it.
Mm-hmm.
But people need to understand that you're the judge. Once that case gets turned over to you and you're sitting on that jury, you're the judge. And you need to act like a judge. You know, was the law applied fairly?
Mm-hmm.
No. Well, you know what? I'm going to quit the guy.
Yeah. Well, I was on a jury where there was a young lady picked up for DUI, and they had film of the field sobriety test that they do. We tried the field sobriety test in the jury room. We were all sober, and half of us couldn't stand on one leg I couldn't for very long, And we're touching our noses and everything, and we're going, this is stupid, the burden of proof wasn't there.
All I'm trying to say is that we have the power, but we've got to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard judges sit there and say, judge the facts.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all you're required to do. Well, baloney.
Mm-hmm. And the judge can overturn your verdict, too, if the judge feels you didn't apply the evidence. In some cases, yeah, that's true. It's not in every case, but...
I mean, it's just like the whole thing about jury of your peers. Okay, well, you can't. Let's say that you're on trial, Tom, for something, and they can't bring up a past record. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, in some cases, that may be correct, but I don't know about that. I would disagree with that. However, when the case involves the same victim and the same person on two different charges, and you still can't put that into evidence, that's a problem for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's,
Sure.
I mean, but that's the way it works. That's when the jury says innocent.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they reach a verdict on the power using the power that they have.
Yeah. Well, as soon as O.J. Simpson tried to put that glove on, that was the end of that verdict.
Yeah.
I think for that jury, that was, that to them was pretty positive proof that, the glove doesn't fit, you must have quit.
That's right. That's right.
Now, that's a pretty stupid thing for the defense to do, or whatever. But
what I'm saying is
we have to do, I guess, or whatever. But anyway.
We have the power to nullify bad law or improperly law that's used improperly.
Yeah, sure.
And then and acquit. So we have the power to change this stuff.
Sure.
I just want to remind you, you can have anything you want when it comes to the law. Just bring the money.
Yeah, bring your money along. Yeah,
that's not law. That's called bribery.
Well, isn't that the same thing? Isn't that how a bill becomes a law?
No, bribery and blackmail those are tools of the intelligence agencies in this country. That's what they use.
Okay.
Okay. Now, do you want to associate yourself with them, with what's going on right now and what we're finding out? I don't. I don't want nothing to do with them guys. Leave me alone.
Amen to that.
Hey, Lolita. There's a price. They're saying now that maybe he was involved. He was working with an intelligence agency, and I'm looking at the TV, and I said, "Duh."
Yeah.
How do these guys have the control that they have? Bribery and blackmail.
Pretty much.
And that's what was going on with this guy.
Yeah.
Got the video cameras all over the place. Oh, yeah, well, geez, we'd like you to vote this way, and we have this video of you.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, she is an underage girl. We're sorry,
Yeah.
So there you go. The system justice system in this country is gone. And until the people wake up and understand what their power is.
Unless you bring the money.
Right, unless you bring the money. Well, that's not justice, Shane.
Well, I'm not arguing with you. I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah, I should have been an attorney. That's just all there is to it.
You want to be one of those guys that changes venue, huh?
Yeah.
That's what attorneys do.
I wasted my life.
Well, first thing you got to do, Tom, is go to school for 4 years, and then you're too old for that crap.
No, I tell you, no. School and I didn't get along.
I can tell by your memory.
Right, yeah, thanks.
Anyway, folks.
All right, man, thanks for the call.
If you want to change a law, you can change it. When they hand it over to you,
go for it.
That's right. Judge the facts, the law, and the application of the law, and vote your conscience, and you'd be surprised how many of these rules and regulations will go away.
All right.
Have a good one, guys.
Take care, man. All right. I would say those 3 words, but I got to take a break. 4 minutes for the top of the hour. We've got a caller patiently waiting on the line, so let's go to the phones. 522-TALK is the number. Calling on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Yeah, I wanted to first off, the previous caller, I'm not sure, but because the comment you made, I don't think the judge can overrule a not guilty verdict. I believe that certainly the judge can do a directed verdict.
A directed verdict, yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's I should have clarified that. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
I'm not this, but I just that was one question I had. Can the judge overrule a not guilty verdict? Anyway, the main reason I called, and actually I'm almost going to forget because I'm patiently sitting here driving, and it was the comments about marijuana. And earlier somebody said, do you want more impaired people on the road? And I kind of wanted to make the comment that, we're going to have impaired people on the road, and I would by far, way, way, way and above, would rather have someone stoned than drunk. I'm 71 years old.
Yeah.
I'm 71 years old, and I've done both. And I would by far rather have somebody stoned than drunk. No.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Alcohol would be a much more serious impairment, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if people are going to do dumb shit, I'm sorry. Whoops. Bleep. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If people are going to do dumb things,
right?
We are still on public radio. I'm too used to listening to podcasts.
That's okay.
In my old age, I've become somewhat of a libertarian.
Yeah.
Actually, not somewhat, mostly.
Well, as your brain increases, that's what happens to you.
Oh, yeah.
You became more commonsensical.
Well, it's real simple. You look at any.
Did I lose you?
Did we lose him?
I don't know.
I think so.
Yep.
He was in the Gallatin.
Yeah, you may have cut out. Yeah, you may have entered the canyon.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Anyway, he was on the way to the veterans office with his dog that's, I think, 11 years old, he said. Didn't mention the type of dog.
Yeah.
It was a rescue dog that they rescued, and his daughter raised it. Mm-hmm. And she did a GoFundMe page because of the cost that the veterinarians want for the surgery, and she raised the money. So that was a great story. I wanted him to tell you
that was pretty cool. Okay, well, I'm glad you imparted it to us at least. So I apologize to the caller. We lost you there. So I don't know where you're driving to, but you must have. I don't know. If you're riding with me and we go under a bridge, you can't hear me. So there. There you are. If you're old enough to remember when radios used to do that in cars.
That's great. That's correct. Yes,
all right, Mike McCormick is up next. I found a whole bunch of statistics about Colorado and the marijuana situation, so we might do some of that while we're talking to Mike about pot stocks or whatever.
And I have all the Canadian pot stocks up
and ready to go. All right.
What they're trading at. Yeah.
All right, good. All right. Well, we'll be back with all of that coming up next. 6 minutes after the hour of 8 p.m. How dumb am I?
Not at all, Tom.
6 minutes after 8 a.m. Wednesday, July 10th. 2019, 64 degrees. What?
You're thinking about when you get to go to bed next.
Apparently, yeah, it must be. Mike McCormick joins us in-house, McCormick Financial Services. Welcome back.
It is great to be here. Happy Wednesday in July. Yeah. No place I'd rather be than Montana in July.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
What a beautiful situation we've got here. So we were talking earlier, there's a bill, well, a couple bills. I think they're going to put a couple marijuana legalization for recreational use on the 2020 ballot. So we wanted to talk about maybe
here in
pot
here in the state of Montana.
Yeah. I've got a couple of things here. I looked up Colorado, and marijuana arrests, mostly for sales and possession, were cut more than half from 2012 to 2017. But arrests for growing the plant increased more than 50%. The arrest rate for blacks remained about twice that of whites. So organized crime charges in 2012 were 31. In 2017, there was 119. Seizures of illegal marijuana declined significantly after legalization, but in recent years have tripled to 10,000 pounds in 2017. And then in driving, fatalities with cannabinoid-positive drivers, 2013 was 55, 2017 was 139, and 26% of those killed in fatal crashes, or 171 people, had blood alcohol content greater than the limit, but they also had THC in their system as well. Youth drug use has remained unchanged, 2014 to 2017, about 19%. Adult use went from 13.6 in 2014 to 15.5 in 2017. Emergency room visits, 2010 to 2013 was 793, and in 2014 to 2015, 913. So that's with marijuana exposure, diagnosis, or billing codes. Quadrupled from 803 per 100,000 household before commercial sales to 2,996 per 100,000 after. Calls to the Poison Control Center, 2006 there were 45, 2017 223. Tax revenue, $266 million, which was 1.5, roughly 1% of the state budget. The first $40 million of tax revenue each year goes to public school construction. Other funds go toward the other. Homelessness homeless shelters in Colorado reported they have seen a surge in homeless people attracted to the state by legal weed. A study of U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development found that Colorado, Washington, and Oregon, 3 states with legalized marijuana, were among the top 4 states with an increase of chronically homeless people between 2017 and 2018. So let's take a quick phone call, and then we'll do some pot stocks. Caller, you on the air. What's up?
Yeah, so the last hour you guys were talking about, someone made a comment about it being all about the money. You know, remember Trump's show, The Apprentice, and what the theme song was? Money, money, money.
Money, money, money. You're right.
Money, money, money. It's all about the money. So, you know, we have a real problem even when an elected official, like, say, AOC, occasionally crazy person, doesn't even know our 3 branches of government: legislative, judicial, executive. Hello, there's 3 different branches.
Yep.
So, but, you know, one of the biggest problems in the country is this legislating from the bench. It's a real problem if someone who's a liberal has some issue that they're trying to accomplish, and all they have to do is just find a liberal judge that they know will agree with them to block whatever the thing is they're having a problem, or put an injunction. And, you know, and even as a conservative, if I were to go to a conservative judge because I have an issue, and know that because that judge is conservative, he'll agree with me, that's a problem too. I mean, it should, if there's an issue, and the judge should just go by the law.
I agree.
Looking at the law. Looking at what the Constitution says, and not what other countries' constitutions say. that really irks me too.
Yeah,
I mean, the Supreme Court looking at other countries. We don't have our other country laws. Why are they looking at other countries' rulings on things? And we have a constitution. We need to stick to that and follow that. So this legislating from the bench is a real problem. Yeah, there's bribery, there's, false witnesses, but when a judge can put an injunction on something just because of the way they feel about an issue instead of looking at the law, that is a major problem, and it really needs to be looked at. And how can we stop that?
Well, vote. Governors appoint judges, so do presidents. So there you go.
That's really all we can do.
And the thing about the Constitution being a living, breathing document. Nope, I think it's on paper and it's in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish especially the Supreme Court, looking at other countries' rulings. No, we have our own Constitution. We have our own laws. We have precedents in some issues, and that's the things that the judges should be looking at, not their own personal pet peeves and their own issues. It's the law that they need to be looking at.
There you go.
Established
thanks
law
for the
and
call.
precedent.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you much. Can't believe I said it twice. Jeez. 6 times this morning I've said it.
Said what?
There you go.
7th.
7 times. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so here we go. Canopy Growth Corporation, listed on the New York Stock Exchange, capitalization $23 billion. You could have bought this stock at 3 cents on February 3rd, 2013. It's trading at $51.37 today on the New York Stock Exchange.
Wow.
Aurora Cannabis, market cap $12.3 billion. It's trading, let's see, where are we at here? Let's see, you could have bought this at 44 cents on the 31st of July, 2014. It's $9.61 on the Toronto Exchange. These are the top 5. Mm-hmm. Afina Inc. market cap $2.5 billion. And it also trades on the Toronto Exchange. It has a bit of a more interesting history, but still, there have been moments, even as early as last year, to buy it. It's trading at $8.87, so not bad considering what it's capitalized at. And the Coronas Group market cap $7.5 billion. Another one of these sexier stocks at $15.54, and has been around for quite some time. The other thing that has to be mentioned is the pharmaceutical companies. And the largest one involved in it right now is a company called GW Pharmaceuticals, PLC. Mm-hmm. It's also listed on the NASDAQ. And this is an very old, pharmaceutical company that goes back several years. But $179.74. And they're dealing with the pharmaceutical side of it for people to use it as a naturopath type of remedy.
Okay. From Sean Williams, writing in the Motley Fool, following a miserable May that saw nearly 3 dozen pot stocks lose at least 10% of their value, June was nominally nicer to the green rush. The Horizons Marijuana Life Sciences ETF, an exchange-traded fund holding more than 4 dozen stocks of various weightings, rose by a modest 2%. Then again, the individual stocks weren't pretty either. Of the 60 that this writer follows, just 21 ended the month of June higher. 2 were unchanged as well. And so not all of these are rock and roll stocks.
Right. Not everybody wins. Hey, Shane, how are you? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you in the house there, big guy.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here, too. I don't have much time left, and I have to say I have done a poor job of directing my clients' investments this way. I haven't covered this field. It's just one of the things that I have to draw borders on where my expertise is, and when something's federally illegal, that's usually an easy one to honor.
I was going to say that
it just
the
goes
rub.
into, there's a risk there, right?
Yeah.
There's an inherent risk there. So,
Well,
but that aside, I don't worry that the Fed's going to crack down and make all these marijuana legal states pay somehow. I don't expect that. I do expect a few things to influence this market. One is, I think the CBD thing is going to turn out to be as effective as vitamin D or fish oil or all these other things that we're taking every day. I mean, they're big business. I'm not discounting them, but panacea for everything. We've seen these things happen before in history, and it would be great if it was, right? It would be great if it was the elixir of youth. But then also something that just, this is something I actually just came across with Tom. I thought is that, I went to Matt Brewing Company last night, which, for a few reasons, but one is that it's really close to my house and I had time and I had a beer. And if Matt Brewing Company was owned by a nationally organized conglomerate with national money and maybe publicly traded, it would lose some of its charm. And I wonder if this is a drug, alcohol, IPAs are a drug as much as marijuana is a drug. I wonder if that force might also overtake things too, because it is a commodity that's the easiest commodity to produce. I don't know if we'd even need to use, Monsanto might go out of business if everything switched over to growing cannabis because it might just take over. And anyway, there's a few things that I'm like, I'm interested to watch it. I'm interested to see what happens. The state of Montana, my personal opinion is there's no real upside to legalizing it. We don't have a population that would generate much in the way of tax revenue. There's already a medicinal program in place, I believe, for the people that need it, that seems to do something. And we're surrounded by states where it is. So, why we wade into that water? I mean, our ability to manage liquor laws seems to be a bit tedious, if you will.
Yeah.
Why do we need to get into something new?
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier. Do we need another impairment in our lives? I don't know, but
we're not getting smarter.
No. Yeah.
Let's focus on that.
Well, and as I pointed out earlier, the tax revenue for Colorado is only 1% of their GDP.
Yeah, so scale that to where
hardly worth.
Right. What's that for our state?
Is it worth the effort? Well, that's what I said here, that we don't have near the population of Colorado or Washington or whatever.
Right.
And the other thing is that by the time,
it's not like North Dakota, or North Dakota's not going to float over and buy our marijuana or something.
Well, yeah. I don't know. Maybe they will. But from our text line 478-8298, I might be wrong, but I don't think most people flood to smoking pot if it were legal. Most likely those would take advantage of it, or those that are already smoking it. And that's probably true. I think there's probably a certain segment of society that would be curious, and if it was legal, would go in and get a recommendation from the store owner and try it out, and maybe they like it, maybe they don't.
Maybe they like it, maybe they don't. But I would bet that you read off some really interesting statistics at the top of the hour there.
Yeah.
But none of them were as current as we need them to be, because this is a living experiment, and Colorado is a great place to run numbers. And I would expect that Colorado's, a lot more people are using marijuana than used to now that it's legal. I bet they would say.
Well, it increased somewhat, 2%.
But your data only went to
2017.
2017.
Yeah. So we're 2 years further into that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I want to know what's been going on the last 2 years.
Yeah. Well, that would be the thing to look at. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just looked something
Hey,
up
can I
really
just
quick
mention something kind of cool?
Go for it.
In my business, the S&P just crested 3,000 points for the first time ever. It clearly has been on a tear, but this is one of those milestones that if you're in the business, you're like, wow, I remember when kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I always talk percentages because it's easier to manage your money that way, and it makes more mathematical sense. But these numbers are significant, and to recognize that this economy is where it is. Maybe it's the most hated rally of all time, but it has benefited. Hopefully, it's benefited you. Probably has, even in indirect ways if you don't invest. But if you've been an investor with retirement assets, this has been a fantastic recovery for you. Think about, let's recognize these are good times right now. So hopefully you're feeling it and able to recognize it and enjoy it, because 3,000 on the S&P, we might not hold it. It might back off. but we'll someday it'll be underneath us, and it's pretty significant.
Yeah. Well, and the Dow Jones is so close to that 27, and the S&P just slightly below the 3,000. They crested and then came back slightly, a couple bucks.
Yeah, and the S&P's been they've been the poster child for this rally all the way through since the Great Recession, and they've been impacted by technology. Technology companies are in there. I was just trying to look on my phone. I don't know if there's any marijuana companies that could be included in the S&P. I don't think so, but probably in other parts of your portfolio you've ended up with some. But this S&P rally has been a USA thing, and it's a great measure of it.
Yeah. Well, S&P's up 8% for the year. Dow Jones up 9% for the year, and NASDAQ's up 9%. So, there you
giddy up.
That's pretty good.
Giddy up.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
and that's probably a 12-month rolling period, I'm guessing, Tom.
Yeah, it just says yearly. So
right. So that, year to date, the numbers are eye popping because of that big December sell off we had, and that's cresting a number like 3,000, as I alluded to, could be a trigger for a sell.
Yeah,
it could be like this is too much. It was only 5 years ago that we hit 2,000 on the S&P. That's what I heard on the radio coming in. I got to look at that because that seems significant.
Yeah, that's a pretty good. That's a pretty good ramp up.
Right. Now, we're including dividends whenever we come across these numbers, too, so that helps. But, where do we go from here? That's what I've been talking to clients about, trying to figure out what's going to happen this next quarter, reading up on what all the analysts are putting out for where they think we're going. Everybody's thinking that things are slowing down. Everybody's thinking that things are still good. And what's different is that everybody's coming up with a different strategy on what they think we should do. And when I see different strategies, oh no, you need to go over to international. Oh no, you need to reduce your bond duration. Oh, we're going into treasuries. My answer is usually don't do anything too rash. Good time to stick with what you've been doing. Rebalance. We did just run our quarterly rebalances, and that's always an interesting exercise because what you're doing is you're selling your winners and you're buying your losers. And that's one of the values that money management can bring is that emotionally is a very difficult thing to do, but mathematically it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. I got to take a break here. Otherwise, we're going to run
to the
bottom of the hour. So hang on. We'll be right back. 26 minutes after the hour. It's 27. It just flipped over. Wednesday, July 10th, 2019. And it is 67 degrees outside. And we have a caller waiting patiently on the line. Let's go to the phones. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Is it me again? Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to call it back. I was going to finish the story on my daughter's dog.
Oh yeah.
And also I wanted to do a little bit of a rant on the current marijuana issue that you guys have been talking about. Anyway, the dog is a dog that we rescued about 8 or 9 years ago, and we have my wife runs an RV park, and these people came through with the dog at one point, and after about 2 days of staying with us, she didn't like the way at all the people were treating the dog, and so when they left, she said, "No, you're not taking the dog with you. I'm keeping him."
Wow.
And so he's been with us. He's been with us for 8 years, 8 or 9 years. Nobody remembers time that well these days.
Yeah.
And and it's the most incredible dog in the world. We found out he's got a lump on his throat, and it turns out to be cancerous. And so he's got to have an operation, which is where he is today. And in the process, since vet bills are never cheap, these days nobody has extra money.
Yeah.
My daughter did a GoFundMe page, and in about a day and a half, it was filled.
Wow. Good
but
for you.
A lot of people know my daughter, and a lot of people know my dog. She used to take it to work all the time. And all the people at her old work, she's changed jobs, just ponied up almost instantly.
Wow. Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, my dog's mad at me because I only remember his birthday every 7 years. So.
Bad.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I got to run.
So bad.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the call. Appreciate the story.
With jokes like that, you ought to be on the stage.
I should be. First one out of town. Right? Thanks a lot, man. Hey, thanks, Mike, for being here. Mike's going to say goodbye to Shane. All right. All right, Mike's got to go, and we'll continue
Next week.
next week. Yeah, thanks for coming in, man.
Great to be here.
Appreciate it. All right, we got to pay some bills, and Shane and I will be back, and we'll continue all kinds of stuff. Whatever you guys want to talk about, we still got some of the 5 things we need to talk about, so we'll get back with those. We'll be right back right after this. 23 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Wednesday, July 10th, 2019. 68 degrees outside. And from our text line, 478-8298, new news reel, please. Are we repeating the news again? I don't know. Well, it happens, you know.
Great block. We covered a lot about the marijuana market and the industry and what's going on.
Sure. Yeah. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Hey, Tom. A 1 to 7 year ratio, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what else happens every 7 years, don't you?
The population of Bozeman supposedly turns over.
Yeah.
What else?
And you know what? And also, supposedly, every cell in your body is renewed every 7 years.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you get a new. I don't know. I'm not happy with the last 21 years. To be honest with you.
You don't feel all that rejuvenated. Huh?
I can't dunk a basketball anymore. I know that.
What's the knees, Tom? Gosh, after your
that's it. It's my knees. I got to blame.
I'd be surprised if you could.
I got to blame it on something. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I got out and mowed the yard for the first time last Saturday, so that was pretty good. Yeah.
First time? How long was it?
Well, I got them late last year, so.
Okay.
So
well, that's good. Anyway, hey, I miss Mike, so I'll pose the question to you guys.
Sure.
Looking at sectors, and what may happen in 2020, I'm holding steady with most of my investments. They're performing well with current market conditions, and I think in large part that has to do with a lot of Trump's policies. But, I think it's a great time to speculate long term just because you never know what 2020 holds. And I think looking at sector investments is going to be totally different if the Dems get in there. With Trump, it's a lot about infrastructure and domestic products. If the Dems get in there, it's going to be all about disposable income and renewable energy. So, I'm kind of speculating, based upon what may happen or not. So, just throwing that out there. I'd like to just hear a little speculation. I wanted Mike to partake, but you guys are just as good.
Right.
So what do you guys think if you're looking at speculation on what may happen and the difference between which sectors will perform well and not based upon who gets elected? What do you think?
Well, I think next a lot of people are predicting a recession coming in 2020 before the election. And what I would base that on, if there is a recession, it'll be due to the negative of the two parties debating each other about their, fear of everything. Fear of losing your money, fear of losing your Social Security, fear of losing your health care, fear of losing your benefits. That's what's going to happen, that a lot of fear is going to be out there. Whether or not the markets will react to that fear or not, and also whatever the Federal Reserve does in 2020 is going to, have an effect there as well. Now, they're talking about they might cut rates at the end of this month, but will they when the markets and everything is doing so well? Unemployment's down and markets are doing great, so why cut rates?
Yeah, as I said, I attribute a lot of this to, not all of it, of course, to a lot of Trump's policies. And I think, a recession may very well be on the horizon. And, people usually seek, safe havens, if there's a lot of fear out there. And how the market overall will react, you're right. That's anybody's guess. But, I'm looking at things like the Green New Deal and all that crap.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. They're going to, there's going to be a lot of fear out there. Shane, what do you think is going to happen in 2020?
Well, I think as a sector overview, the greatest sector is going to be affected is media. with streaming, you're going to see a downgrade or certainly a loss to the value of cable and networks. With regards to energy, that's not going to change as much as they want to make the noise they make about it. They can't. You're oil independent. Oil will still stay in the $65 range to facilitate its recovery from the ground. With regards to debt, I'm concerned that you and I talk about markets, markers, and we're seeing a lot of things that are off key, like Bitcoin and gold and other commodities starting to respond to what may be a debt concern in sovereign debt. But I think overall, you'll see the economy strengthen. The Fed will reduce interest rates to keep this economy expanding. That's the difference. Not growing, expanding.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's the key word there, Shane, expanding. Hey, thanks for your input,
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Always appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Thanks a lot. Let's take another call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you're on the air. Thanks for waiting. What's going on?
Oh, well, all these fearsome liberals here in Bozeman, like if you're not driving a Subaru and got one of them down-filled, greasy-looking jackets on,
right,
you're just not part of the club, I guess. I'm going to make a future prediction.
Okay.
If you don't have a Subaru and a greasy down-filled jacket, you're not going to get your tax break from the city. So you have to join the club. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm going out shopping right now, man. Thanks for the call. All right. Sounds good to me. Let's do that. All right. Got to take a quick break. Be right back. 15 minutes for the top of the hour. We've got a caller patiently waiting on the phone with Shane. So let's go to the phones. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you're on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Hey, good morning. Yeah, we were just talking about, I think there'll be a slowdown, an economic slowdown before the 2020 election. That's pretty common. I think if it stays above the abysmal numbers that the Obama administration was generating, I think it'll be viewed still as a good economy by people like us. I think but anything below what it's doing now will be viewed as a huge recession by the Democrats, regardless.
Well, I think that's their hope, is that this economy will slow down next year and they'll have something to talk about, that these things aren't working. But you also have to point out that this is the Obama economy according to them. It's not Trump.
Right.
It's not Trump's economy. It's Obama started this.
You know better than that.
I know that. Yeah.
It's the Obama economy, if it's doing well. It's the Trump one if it's doing bad.
Amen.
That's how that works. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I just think that it's going to slow down a little bit, and they always do. It's cyclical. That's how it happens. But but just by virtue of what you just said, it is so true. They hope it slows down.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want the country to succeed. They don't want him to have any successes. It's just really sad what it's come to.
Well, it is, but that's, they're going to have to point to some dents in, Trump's fender to get elected. And, a slowdown in the economy is going to be, if people aren't working, or if they're fearful for their jobs, or fearful that, they're not going to get raises or whatever. And I think that's the fear they're going to try to capitalize on, and whether or not that'll affect the market, who knows,
Yeah. No, I agree. It's just interesting how they think, that for sure. Now, I heard Bernie Sanders the other night. We have less than 12 years until the Earth is virtually an end.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, even if they get in the next year and a half, so let's make it 2 years from now, then they're going to have just under 9 years to fix it all.
Yeah. Well, I gave my 9-year notice to Town Square.
Yeah. Now, it's pretty comical. It really is. It's actually wasn't so scary. It's pretty comical. But the way these people think is just amazing, and the hypocrisy is just more than I can stand. I
hear you, man. Hey, thanks for the call. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it. Caller, thanks for waiting. You're on the air. What's going on?
Is it my turn?
Your turn. Yep, go for it.
It's me again, Margaret.
Hey,
you're probably too young for that one. You can do that on YouTube.
Hold on, just a second.
Okay.
That's our rule. So what's going on?
Anyway, I still wanted to get my libertarian rant in there.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, everybody's been talking about the same thing, and I'd like to point out with the marijuana, with the economy, with everything else like that, the government has never fixed anything. Nobody can ever name a single project that has been described as a problem, and we've sicked the government to fix the problem, and that they've succeeded. Not one. The worst case, of course, is the welfare system. But even things like, people will constantly bring up the highway system. Well, nobody realizes that the highway system was about 80% completed before Eisenhower confiscated it. He didn't build it. Government doesn't help anything. And unfortunately, the Libertarian Party is not very well organized, and they have some people in their organization that aren't that bright. But on the other hand, someone pointed out to me, both parties are in it for power. They want to be able to tell you to do something, to force you to do something. The libertarians are only ones out there that don't want to force something on you.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Anyway.
I'm what I call a hybrid libertarian. I don't agree with everything, obviously, but I agree with you. I think I don't know that we need registration of guns. I don't even think we need registration of automobiles or licensing of them. But that's neither here nor there.
Well, the path that libertarians tend to go down, that everybody seems to put the brakes on, are things like the FDA. Will big pharma just kill everybody because nobody has control over them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's pretty clear in history that the only thing that's ever been able to fix something like that has been the free market. Big pharma, the corruption in big pharma is basically because they got pockets in Washington.
Yep.
That they can stuff money in.
Yep.
And if you don't create those pockets, nobody's going to stick money into it.
Yep. You feel bad, take a pill.
Yeah. And the thing is, the free market, the marketplace, especially as we now have such wide communications, the free market will correct itself. Pfizer doesn't want people dying with their drug. You don't think that the public is going to find out about that?
Yeah.
Not through our current media, but yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'd argue if I could.
Yeah. Nobody has yet. And for the most part, I don't necessarily. I'm actually up in Great Falls. I hate to make a commercial for it, but up in Great Falls this weekend. Up in Great Falls this weekend is a convention, Montana Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
And I've paid attention to them for the last couple. I woke up in 2016. I'm 71 years old.
Yeah.
And I woke up in 16 and said, I've been paying attention to politics every 4 years for about 2 to 4 months, and I am convinced that we elected the second worst candidate in history.
Yeah.
We just dodged the first.
Yeah, there you go.
But actually, and I voted for Gary Johnson, but actually I have become somewhat of a Trump fan.
Yeah.
People that don't like him don't like his bravado.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like his twittering. I don't care. I don't care at all.
Results are what matters.
We've had people since Wilson who have been presidential, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
I'll try this guy.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah.
I certainly don't think anything on the 10 people or the 20 people we looked at 2 weeks ago have got a snowball's chance in hell.
No.
I sure hope they don't.
Yeah.
I really hope they don't.
All right.
But when you all
I got to go. I got to take a break here. I got to get the
What
rush
a
update
rant.
in before the end of the hour. Hey, thanks for the call, though.
Opportunity to rant, especially in Los Angeles.
All views are welcome
Thank
here. All right, take it easy. We'll be right back. Here's Rush. 3 minutes for the top of the hour. Before we leave, Shane, I wanted to mention Tom Steyer running for president, just announced today or yesterday, I guess. And,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
if you're not familiar with who he is, in 2016, he was the top donor to the Democratic Party. $91 million he gave to try to defeat President Trump in 2016. He was by far the top donor. Sheldon Adelson of the Las Vegas Sands, Republican, was second with $82 million. But yeah, Tom's got some bucks, and we don't have time to vet him here. But
not to vet him, but he had a fund and made his fortune in coal.
In coal,
how ridiculous is that?
He's a coal guy, yeah.
A coal baron.
And he's decided he's going to give up impeachment of Trump and is going to go after the presidency himself. So that's the way to get rid of Trump. Now, will he give $91 million to the other 20 people standing up there with him? I don't know. So that's pretty precarious when you got the top donor of the Democratic Party standing on the stage and not giving any money to these other guys.
Yeah, that's right.
So
it's only going to get better, Thomas.
So this will be kind of interesting to see how he comes out. And we haven't heard much from Starbucks Schultz either, who's also running as an independent.
No, he withdrew 2 weeks ago.
Oh, did he? Okay, I guess I missed that. So it was, I'm surprised he even got in to begin with. But
yeah, of course. Ego.
Yeah, apparently. So, all right. Well, I guess the Fox Town Hall meeting didn't help him any. So, I don't know. Anyway. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us today. So say goodbye, Shane.
Bye, Mayor. Thank you for everything. Thanks for all the people in house, and everyone be happy, be safe.
All right. And we will we'll be back tomorrow morning, of course. And, let's, boy, I don't know. I don't know if I got a time for a phone call or not. Let's take one. Caller, you on the air? What's going on?
Hey, I just wanted to see if you guys saw the irony in a billionaire running on a platform of too much money in politics and that there's too many rich people getting involved.
That's probably it. I don't know, Kevin. I got to go. Hey, thanks a lot.
All right. Yeah.
All right, take it easy. Hey, I've got a City Brew card to give away worth $20, a City Brew card. So if you're a City Brew customer, I got a $20 gift card here for you. I'll take the fifth caller, 522-TALK, 522-8255. And we'll see everybody bright and early tomorrow morning at 6 a.m.